Hi guys, so welcome back to Lex Reads. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about two books that I read in conjunction with each other. And I read them in conjunction with each other because they have some similarities. They are both set in the 1920s. One book is by a well-known author. The other one is not. One is by a black author, one is by a white author. And these two books are The Great Gatsby and When Washington Was in Vogue. Now, When Washington Was in Vogue was published in 1925 to 1926. It was published in a magazine by Edward Christopher Williams. And if you look at Edward Christopher Williams, he looks like a white man. I'll pop up a picture. But this book is the first book written by an African American in letter form. And the main character is Darby Carr. Darby is a scholar, and he is from New York, but he goes to Washington to do some research. And he is living in a rooming house that is ran by a black elite family. He comes in encounter with a wonderful girl named Caroline, who is so witty and modern and just like kind of fast, and he just like enamored with her. And she introduces him to the socialites and all the social gatherings, and you just see how he navigates his life when it comes to living in Washington. Now, The Great Gatsby, published in 1925, this obviously deals with the main protagonist, Gatsby, Jay Gatsby, and his love for Daisy Buchanan, and Tom, which is her husband, who is such a horrible guy. He cheats on his wife with Myrtle, and Myrtle Wilson is married to George, and George doesn't have anything, and oh Lord. And you have Nick that is narrating the story, and he is just, he's in awe of Gatsby, and he has this relationship with Gatsby, this friendship, and you just see his loyalty, and I love Nick. But the reason why I want to read these in conjunction with each other, because the blurb in When Washington Was in Vogue mentioned Gatsby, the Great Gatsby. And it says, when Washington was in vogue brings the Harlem Renaissance vividly to life, a great Gatsby with a happier ending. And it was truly a happier ending, because Gatsby was no happier ending. There's no accountability in in The Great Gatsby. No one was accountable. And obviously this is a well-known book. People know the gist of it, know the ending, and that ending always frustrates me, because again, no accountability. But I love this book. They classify it as as a great American novel, and it really is a great American novel. It honestly is. And I read this book when I was a junior in high school, and revisiting it as a 30-year-old woman, I just loved it even more, because now I really understand it. So yeah, guys. Now, the similarities. Both deal with class. Both deal with obviously the jazz age. Both deal with some race aspects, gender. Did I say class? Class. And money and socialite, and that's, both of these books have that. I'm always so happy to read books that have blacks seen in a different light, meaning they're not just struggling all the time. And this book, clearly no one was struggling. This is like, everyone in here is black elite, black bourgeoisie, and it was no different from The Great Gatsby. Only thing that was different was all the characters in this book is black, and then all the characters in this book is white. But there was no difference, and I find that like, it was pleasant to read, and it also just kind of states that stereotype of blacks not having anything or blacks struggling, and that was not the case for this book. Yeah, so I'm just so glad that I read in conjunction, like I said, these two books, because I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And especially this one, because this one is a hidden gem, and this one, it was a lost novel from the Harlem Renaissance. That's what it literally says on the cover. And this book was reissued in 2003 because it was written anonymously, and sadly, Edward, this is his only book, and sadly he ended up unexpectedly passing away. And yeah, I just, reading this, it was I was bittersweet because the writing was so, great, and I loved it. But then it was like, with the writing being so great, I wish I could read more of his works, and we had that, more of his works out there, but unfortunately we don't. But we do have this. So my thing is, I can always go back and, reread it and read the passages. Caroline was my heart. I love Caroline. She was kind of annoying, but I still loved her. There was one scene in the book where she always goes to Darby's room to do her schoolwork, and she just goes in his room, and he's like, I don't know if I'm annoyed or like happy at the same time that she always is with me and wants to be with me. I just find that so. And with Gatsby, I love the mysteriousness of Gatsby. I love also, he has such a delicate heart, and he's so optimistic, and when you see what Daisy did, it breaks my heart. But I've always loved Gatsby, and I've always loved Nick, because that loyalty that Nick has when it came to Gatsby, and just that the way that he just showed love for Gatsby. I honestly, I love that. And it's almost, you could equate this as like a love story, but it's like a tragic love story, because again, there's no accountability in this book when it comes to the people, when it comes to Tom, and when it comes to Daisy, and even Jordan. But this is a classic. I understand why it's a classic. I understand why it is classified as a great American classic. He's a great American writer, because he honestly was. And after reading this, it's like, now I want to read more of his works. I think I want to read The Side of Paradise. That came out in 1920. That came out before Gatsby. But yeah, guys, I just want to share with you these two books that I read and thoroughly enjoyed. Please, guys, check out When Washington Was in Vogue. Again, it's from the Harlem Renaissance, and you guys know I am a fan of the Harlem Renaissance. I am dedicating the whole year to reading a lot of the novels, and especially the novels that are not really well known and the authors are not really well known. And the fact that this was a lost Harlem Renaissance novel, that was up my alley, because, I always say those, the ones that are not really well known are usually the hidden gems, and this was a hidden gem. And like I said, you won't regret reading this. He was an incredible writer. And yeah, guys, pick this up. Please pick this up. And if you haven't read Gatsby, which everyone's read Gatsby, but if you haven't read Gatsby, pick it, Gatsby up too, because again, incredible story, incredible storyteller. And also read these books. You can read these books together like I did. I really enjoyed reading them together, seeing the similarities. And yeah, guys, that's all I have for you. So check out my Instagram, LexReads10, and also my blog, unsungblacks.com. Bye, guys.